Welcome to another episode of Spooky News from Spooky Ventures. This one is for October 6, 2023. It's beginning to look a lot like spooky season around here. I hope the same is true where you are. There's quite a bit to talk about this time around, but before we get to that, I should mention the usual things I need to talk about. First, remember that all of Spooky Ventures, but especially this YouTube channel, is supposed to be interactive. So please interact. You can do that by liking our videos, sharing our videos, and subscribing to our channel. Next up, don't forget that if you want more information about any of the things I talk about, there are two places you can find that. First, if you stick around until I'm done talking, I know sitting through me talking is a heck of a price to pay, but I think you can do it. You'll see that all the source URLs and other links are included at the end as title cards. You can also find them all in the details section of the description of this video. With that out of the way, let's get into the actual news for this week. First, we'll look at a little piece of paranormal news, or perhaps it's psychology news. All Star Home recently conducted a survey about people's opinions about hauntings. According to their results, 2 out of 5 Americans reported having a paranormal experience in their home. 1 in 6 believe the house they currently live in is haunted. The most commonly reported phenomena is a feeling of a presence, with 42% saying that has happened to them. 37% say they have heard unexplained sounds like voices or footsteps. 19% said they have had ghostly sightings in their home. In terms of the area of the house most likely to be haunted, 49% said they have experienced something paranormal in their bedroom. Ironically, 26% reported the living room as the location for their haunting. 23% pointed to their kitchen. Halls and stairs came in at 21%. Basements only got 12%. I have to wonder if that low number is because while all homes have bedrooms, living rooms, kitchens, and halls, many are lacking a basement. 43% of those surveyed said that their community has local ghost stories or legends, and just over half of those who participated believe those tales are real. Almost a quarter of those surveyed, 24% to be exact, said that they would buy a house that they believed was haunted. The survey, which was conducted in August, was pretty small, with 1,017 people participating. From there, let's turn to books, and specifically a comic book. Apparently there's a classic horror comic book series that was marketed to girls in the UK called Misty. An anthology of the comic has been released called Misty 45 Years of Fear. It's a hardcover book, and it seems like it would be a great collectible for fans of the series, but also might make a good introduction for newcomers. As long as we're on books, I should mention that I just published a new book on this morning, titled Sing a Song of Dread, the place where music and horror meet. The book collects stories from myself, Del Merritt, and R.C. Mulhare, and adds one classic story each from Elizabeth Gaskell and H.P. Lovecraft. As you can probably guess from the subtitle, each story blends horror and music. The cover is by Square Frog Art, and the book can be purchased at lulu.com/spotlight/strange-sound. From a book blending music and horror, we turn our watchful eye to music with horror angles. Have you heard of the musical act Lovecraft? That's spelled L-V-C-R-F-T. They are a Halloween-centric music act and have just released a brand new album called 5. Well, technically it's V because it's a Roman numeral title. The album features 12 new songs, including such titles as Scream for Halloween, Bad Witches, Every Day is Halloween, and more. Next up, we'll look at some spooky television news. Apple TV has a new 4-hour episode docuseries coming on the 27th of the month. It's called The Enfield Poltergeist, and it's about the true story that served as the inspiration for the film The Conjuring 2. Looking to Hulu, a somewhat forgotten but beloved Stephen King series has been added to their catalog of shows to stream. That show is Rose Red. Originally released in 2002, Rose Red is a tale of a group of psychics investigating the history and phenomenon at an abandoned haunted house. If you've been wanting to see this show for the first time or a rewatch, perhaps now is the time. Hulu has also brought back another series beloved by many for spooky season. This one is based on a movie series that has a special place in the hearts of horror fans, and now it's been brought back to TV. That's because all 3 seasons of Ash vs. Evil Dead have been added to the Hulu catalog as of the first of the month. So if you haven't seen the series, now is your chance. If you love the craziness that is Ash vs. Evil Dead and have missed it, you can relive all the gory camp fun now. From TV news about one classic film series to another, the future of the Halloween series appears to be all about television. There is currently a bidding war underway to determine what company gets the rights to develop the franchise for TV. At the time I'm writing this, A24 is said to be winning that war, but that could change. Whoever winds up getting the licensing, it seems a given that Michael Myers' next move will be from the big screen to home viewing. Next up, this piece is a follow-up, or reminder for something I talked about in September. Starting tomorrow, Svengoolie will be doing double features all month long. For those who don't know, Svengoolie is a TV show on MeTV. It's also the name of the host of that show. Svengoolie is Rich Koz, and his show is on every Saturday from 7 to 9:30 Central Time. I'm definitely a huge fan, so I talk about him and his show whenever the opportunity arises. You know, like the way the undead arise. For the month of October, he will still be in his regular time slot, but will get bonus 2-hour episodes right after, those standard ones. That means he'll be on the air from 7 to 11:30 each Saturday night. Again, those times are in Central Time Zone. I'm biased because that's my time zone, but then again, since Sven is based in Chicago, it's also his time zone. Tomorrow night, we get Killer Clowns from Outer Space in the first time slot, and The Crawling Eye in the second. On the 14th, it's Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, followed by Invaders from Mars, the 80s version. If you keep watching after that one, you'll see a repeat of the Svengoolie Uncrypted special that first aired in October of last year. On the 21st, Sven leads off with the TV movie Kolchak the Night Stalker and chases it with Godzilla King of the Monsters. And on the 28th, the follow-up to the Night Stalker, Kolchak the Night Strangler, starts the festivities, and Trilogy of Terror finishes out the month's offerings from Svengoolie. Another TV horror host has been in the news too. That host is Joe Bob Briggs. His The Last Drive-In series has been renewed at Shudder. Similar to the way MeTV has gone all in on Svengoolie, Shudder is upping the ante with Briggs too. They're doing several specials this fall and winter, and will be featuring more episodes for a new season starting early next year. From television shows that feature horror movies, my attention shifts to horror movie news. The first tidbit is about a movie that hit theaters last weekend, Saw X or Saw 10. A behind-the-scenes story about the film has been in the news. That's because while working on the sound design for the movie, first assistant editor Steve Forn got a visit from the police. Apparently neighbors had called because they thought someone was being tortured in his house because of the sounds they were hearing. Needless to say, an explanation was enough to send them on their way, but it is still a great story. Next up, Blumhouse, who recently gave us the Halloween sequel trilogy and has an Exorcist modernization underway, has their sights on another classic film series. They want to get their hands on the Friday the 13th franchise to do a revamp. I have to say that based on the first two Halloween movies they put out, I'd be excited to see what they could do with this series. However, after Halloween Ends, which was probably the single most disappointing horror movie I've ever seen, that enthusiasm is definitely tempered. I mean, I would give it a chance. That's certain, but I obviously wouldn't have my hopes built up all that high for it. Next, we'll look at an upcoming board game based on a horror movie franchise. Trick or Treat Studios is releasing a Chucky game in the next year and are currently taking pre-orders for it. The game is expected to ship in January, and you can get on the list for a copy for about $60. That brings us to the end of the actual news items, but if you watch enough of these, you know there's still more to come. First, I'd like to remind everyone that you can find all kinds of cool Spooky Ventures apparel, drinkware, and more at cafepress.com/spookyventures. I always end things with some dates from our spooky calendar. You can check out the calendar yourself by going to the main site at spookyventures.com and then just scrolling down until you see the calendar link at the bottom. We list all kinds of dates that should be of interest to fans of all things spooky. Looking to that calendar, first you'll see the book I mentioned earlier, Sing of Song of Dread, which was published this morning. 4 movies open today too. Those films are Aberrants, The Woods Are Real, Where Evil Lurks, and The Exorcist Believer. I should mention I get all the movie dates from Fandango, so I don't know how widespread the distribution is on any of these movies. So you might want to check on it if one of them catches your interest. Movie maker Guillermo del Toro's birthday is Monday, October 9th. A movie called The Night Butcher Volume opens the following day, Tuesday the 10th. 4 movies open next Friday on the 13th. Yep, we have a Friday the 13th in October this year. Gotta love that. Anyway, those 4 movies are 13 Cameras, Dark Harvest, Never Hike Alone 2, and Dear David. I plan to be back here a week from today, on that 13th, Friday the 13th, with another spooky news update. Until then, remember, spooky is a lifestyle, not a season, so always keep it spooky. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.